Let's start this webinar. So hi everybody and welcome. Thanks for joining today's webinar, Mastering Freelance Work, Tools and Tips for Success. Our panel of experts from Outvise have been in the freelance game for a while now, and they've got a lot of great advice to share with you. So get ready to hear their best practices and favorite tools to help you thrive in your freelance career. Now, before we begin, I would just like to take a quick minute to present Outvise to those who are new to us. So Outvise is a business tech talent marketplace that connects companies with world-class experts. We're headquartered in Barcelona, Spain, and we've established ourselves as the leading freelance platform for business tech projects. We operate in over 40 countries. So since our start in 2014, we have amassed a community of over 38,000 talented professionals on our platform. And I would like to present our speakers today. First, we have Ignacio Lloregizar. He is a strategy and management consultant. He has 20+ years international experience in defining and implementing strategy, driving business development, delivering turnarounds for top-tier telecom, internet, retail companies across Europe, the Middle East, and Latin America. Thanks for speaking here today, Ignacio. Next, we have Keith Williams. He's an information technology consultant. He has 16+ years of IT experience, including a decade leading complex global change programs for senior management aimed at modernizing facilities, ITSM, TechOps, technology infrastructures, projects, and processes. Thanks for being here, Keith. And finally,
you're welcome.
And finally, we also have Elena Rudneva-Lobas. She is a transformation and change management expert. She has 15 years of experience in delivering big change across countries, cross cultures, and cross functions, as well as complex transformations, turnarounds, and post-M&A integrations all around the globe. Elena uses a holistic approach covering program management, change management, and cultural change. So thanks for being here, Elena, as well. And so to the audience, we will add their LinkedIn to the chat if you guys want to connect and chat. And before I hand over to Ignacio to discuss the agenda, I'd just like to say if you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A or the chats, and we will cover them during the Q&A section. So thanks, and I leave it to you, Ignacio.
Thanks, Thora. Hi, everyone. Nice to have you here with us. I see that we have quite a bit of audience here. Today, we're going to talk about something that we all have something to contribute to. Keith, Elena, and myself just chipped in and start getting some ideas on the tools that we could use as freelancers. We've separated on 4 blocks. One is getting the next project, which is most of us are namely interested on. The other one is around executing the project, which is separated into things for task management, things for collaboration, project-specific tools, things that are very specific to certain kind of projects. Security, it's a very important topic that Keith is going to help us a lot. And then a random box of other. The last part is getting paid, most important thing. Invoicing expenses and payments. And finally, it's something to get us continuing to expand our knowledge and our capacity to serve other projects is learning new skills and know-how. We're going to go to each of them. It's going to be a conversation between the 3 of us. We would like to include you also, every one of you, in the chat. So at the end of each of the sections, we will ask the audience to put in the chat any other tool that they are comfortable using and they would like to recommend to other freelancers. I'm sending a suggestion of what could be the text piece, so name of the tool, and a quick short description so everyone can benefit from your knowledge there. Todd, if you want to jump into getting the next project. So a quick one here. I'm going to mention 2 areas that I know well. We all know probably The first one is LinkedIn. That's where we really can get our profile known, our connections strengthened. It helps in every aspect of getting the new project, especially on interviews. Whenever someone is going to interview us for a project, we can get the common connections. We can understand who the client is, which is more important than just going blank to that interview. And also, of course, arriving to getting other contacts. We will all get the slides afterwards. And most importantly, sorry, I'm doing a quick comment to that chat. Most importantly, in the Outvise platform, there would be a thread. There's a forum in the Outvise platform. There would be a thread where we all be discussing there, Kate, Elena, and myself. And all of you guys can chip in and add any comments in the Outvise platform. And of course, the slides will be there. Also, they will be sent. LinkedIn is a super powerful platform. Not going to dwell into it more. The only thing is, I would like to recommend that there's trainings about how to brand yourself in LinkedIn. You cannot be a strategy consultant, IT expert, and AI guru. Yeah, it's very important to get a very clear message out of there to the world. One quick tool that I'm going to talk about briefly is DuckSoup. This probably most of you don't know about it. It's around automation through LinkedIn. So if you know who your target audience is, in my case, telco, head of strategies, finance, or ex-consultants working in the telco industry, this tool can help you automate those LinkedIn invitations and secure a larger network for yourself. So go and check it out, because it's an investment you need to do on the tool and LinkedIn Sales Navigator, but that can allow to grow your network quite fast and in an automated way. Then quickly, Twitter is also another network that can help you gain visibility. And for some of the industries, Instagram. Kate, if you want to jump in the other tools that we have.
Yes, thank you, Ignacio. Hello, everybody. Welcome on board. It's a pleasure to be here. And any questions you have about any of the topics we speak, please feel free to type, or you can hit us up after. Ignacio touched on a very important topic, which was LinkedIn. Now, I'm not going to labor it, but there are, from my humble experience, apart from the usual networking aspect of LinkedIn, I think it's important to note that it's actually an HR platform, believe it or not. That's probably why Microsoft acquired it. The two key components that I use it for, which most people are fully unaware or fully leverage, is how to obtain informational meetings through contacting people free. You don't need to have the premium membership to do that. And it's a very powerful feature that you can do. And I recommend doing that. The other one is actually at the very top end side of LinkedIn. If you go to the actual search bar, although they do change it around a bit, is go to the advanced search. So you can narrow down to a very precise level of the people you have in common within a company, or if you're looking for something, you're looking for a lead, or you're looking to scope out or due diligence, you can actually find and source a lot of information through second and a lot of third level contacts who are in those companies you want information from. It's quite a very powerful level. Moving on to some of the other tools we have. Now, a lot of freelancers have a desire on how to sell and market themselves in a very quick and easy format without actually having to develop a huge and complex website. And I was one of those people. I was always one of the people that say, let's do it simple, get it up and done and ready. So that's where about.me comes. It's a very simple yet professional place to showcase your work in one page. And then what you can do is what I've done in my previous experience is actually use it's a profile page which you set up with has zero cost. And you can actually then go to moo.com, the bottom right-hand corner there, or Vistaprint, and create business cards. and you can use the picture of your profile with all your details. And therefore, you have a physical presence of your business cards. And now I know that's old-fashioned these days. Most people use V-Card or other such mobile devices for their business cards, but still a lot of people in certain cultures like to receive a card. And that's where Moo or Vistaprint is very helpful. If you wish to do any impressions, anything to do with your business, sales, and marketing, Vistaprint and Moo are fantastic places. Now, I don't get any royalties from advertising any of these companies. These are just tools that I'm using. So I'm not here selling anybody. You can choose any you like. But Outbot.me, in summary, is your one-stop shop to get a profile up and running. And Vistaprint is everything to do with printing anything at discount rates. You can even print your logo on a mug if you like. And it's all printed, affordable rates, and shipped directly from Netherlands to anywhere in Europe. Moving on to if you actually wish to create your own website, which is I do recommend. First of all, it's a good place to go if you wish to set up your own domain or even check if your domain is available, is go to either Google Domains or register.com. You can check whether, let's say, Elena domain is available. You can check that at Register or Google, and you can actually buy it through them and shop and compare. Equally, you can go to GoDaddy as well. And then the benefits of GoDaddy and Squarespace, the two big names in creating easy, simple, visually pleasing websites, is Squarespace and GoDaddy. I have experience in Squarespace. They're fantastic. It also hooks well into WordPress, etc. So these are the areas which I find are extremely useful and handy. If you'd like more details or any other further information, please feel free to ask.
Here, I would add one thing about Google Domains or register.com, whatever option you might go, is a very simple way of having a strong marketing on yourself without the website, which I've done it in the past, is just buying your domain, which basically, actually last week, I managed to convince a consultant who was using, as majority of us, gmail.com. So why don't you go buy a domain, which costs $10, configure in case of Google, which is the easiest part, is configure a paid Gmail account, which is $5 a month. And all of a sudden you have well, I'm not going to use my example because it would be horrible, ignacio@jauregizar.com. Nobody would be able to spell and write that email. But it's kind of, in the case of Kate, I'm using you yourself, it's kate@freelance.com. Man, that is branding. Instead of having a meeting with the CFO of a company and sending from your Gmail calendar.
Exactly. So instead of using your @outlook.com or your gmail.com, why not get yourself a personal domain and have your name as part of a domain address and use it for your email. Mine actually includes the about.me domain. So you can see that as part of my contact details, and it's linked to my profile, and and it syncs quite nicely.
The final tool before we jump into executing the project is Outvise. So best way to get in the next project is market yourself within Outvise. I know well Outvise house inside, right? Actually making contact with the partners, with the people, getting yourself known that you're available. It's a stupid things, but that does get you projects, because Outvise has a lot of technology, but at the end there are people there. So the more you get known there and your availability and you're contributing to Outvise to make it happen, then your name pops out.
I have nothing but positive things to say about Outvise. I never heard of them until the last little while, and I was contacted through LinkedIn because of my profile. We engaged in general conversations, and all of a sudden I was doing scouting interviews for certain companies, and the relationship has just developed. And so I thoroughly recommend Outvise as a good platform on which to launch your freelance career.
Yeah, I have absolutely the same experience with Outvise.
If anyone wants to chip in and throw some names in the chat while we get into the next block, it would be knowledge that would be shared with everyone in the final presentation. Quick one here. I don't want to go into text. Let's go into real stuff. But in the executing the project, we divided it in 5 blocks, which not perfect, but whatever. It's what task management tools do you recommend for staying organized and on track with projects? So it's purely task management. Then collaboration tools that you use to work with your clients and team members. Majority of the times this gets imposed by the client. Sometimes there's nothing structured. Are there any tools that you use to aid in completing specific projects? And as a freelancers, what are the same tools available to enhance security and information? In reality, this is more about theory and practice. Keith is going to take us through around security. We jump into the next one. So, Keith, if you want.
Executing the project or a task or an initiative, whatever it may be that your engagement model is with your customer or client. You're going to need some tools on how to track the piece of work. Some people can use the back of an envelope or a sticky note. Unfortunately, in today's world, that gets quite complex with concurrent dependencies running. Now, Ignacio said it correct before. A lot of the times you are imposed on the devices, the laptops, or the tools which you must use. However, other times and more piecemeal work, you can actually use your own personal device. And that's where you can choose the actual tools you want. Now, from a more corporate or enterprise level, where most medium to large companies sort of give you a laptop with their standard image and enterprise tools, more than likely you're going to be given some type of Microsoft suite. Sometimes you still will see Lotus Notes kicking around, and I kid you not, that's still around. When I worked at a certain insurance company years ago, I had to learn how to use Lotus Notes. I will not give the client's name. Nevertheless, it's a good skill to have. But generally speaking, I find that managing and tracking projects, I find my go-to tools always are the ones in the bottom half of the screen. Excel, Project, SharePoint, and OneNote. Those are easy to use, they're intuitive, but more importantly, you can share links and collaborate with people in and outside of your organization without actually having to worry about them being inside your corporate network. And that's a key feature which most people need. So if you're working within your corporate network and you need to collaborate on a live document with, say, people from externally to you, instead of emailing the document, give them rights and you can collaborate live in the same document. And that's a useful feature. And before Office 365, that was hard to come by years ago. Slack in the middle there, that is a common chat adlation tool these days. It's commonly used, and I find it quite easy. Play around with it. You can even download it for free and use it. Many universities use it as well, by the way. And the one in the middle where it's white and yellow, if you are a Mac user, you actually might be familiar with that. And that is just a simple default tool that comes with your Mac device. Yeah, Notes. It's quick and easy. It's useful. You can put bullets. There's nothing special about it, but it's cross-platform and you can see it on your iPhone, your iWatch, everything across your whole ecosystem. I find it useful. Last but not least, you have Google Tasks, which is part of the Google Suite, and it does more or less the same thing as the Office products, but it's free as part of the Google Suite. And it's useful and handy, and it works on most browsers. The other part, which I'll mention the last, which is Trello. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but if you go to Trello.com and you like the Kanban board approach, where you can move things around, where you're planning your backlog and done or in progress, Trello is a fantastic tool for that. It's all web browser based, so you give everybody a log on in your team and you can actually dynamically work on pieces of work and people can move and color code and coordinate. It's very visually pleasing. It's very easy. And yes, I even had my mother use it, and that was the most basic test I could use. If my mom can use it, most people can use it. That's my mother test. No offense to my mother.
I use it also with my wife to manage family stuff. And I use it for most of my companies to track and get things, larger things done and within track. Fantastical logo that you have there. I truly recommend whoever is not 100% pleased with the calendar features that Google Calendar, Outlook, whoever has. It's a paid app, so you need to pay to get the services of Fantastical. It's a calendar app, but I'm paying it. It just delivers so much. And I mean, give it a try, because for me, it works. I've been working like for 4 years with it. It's definitely an edge over Outlook, Gmail, or something like that in the calendar side.
Is there a license to Fantastico, Ignacio?
It's kind of a yearly subscription stuff.
Got it. Subscription. Okay. Very good.
It has a lot of functionalities. I'm not going to talk about them, but there's very practical, very visual. If you're using a phone this size, you need to have a lot of information in very limited space. I don't have an large iPhone. I don't like it. Here we're getting into collaboration tools, which Keith has already touched upon a bit, but these two first, Calendly, some of you might know it. There's plenty of other options. Calendly is the way to eliminate the 15 emails you need to get a meeting scheduled. So instead of going back and forth trying to find a schedule, I always send my Calendly link and say, go, feel free, find the slot that works for you and book it. If it's available, I am free, and I get lots more meetings thanks to that. I even get meetings out of nowhere, which I don't know where they came through, and I get clients out of that. Miro is for this. I mean, I wouldn't recommend to do brainstorming and strategy creation online, but I've had to in the middle of the pandemic. Miro is something that helps a lot. It's kind of a like whiteboard with sticky notes kind of collaboration online tool that, I mean, if you cannot do it physically, which is the real way to do brainstorming, it also works very well. I'll jump into Circle Loop and then over to you, Keith. Circle Loop, there's also 1,000 other options on this one. Is a phone, physical phone, well, it's an online voice over IP phone. Now, the beauty of this one is, you can make calls to the real world, which WhatsApp or Telegram cannot do. And the second thing, which is more important to give you a bit more of entity as a company, even if it's a one-man company, you can post in your LinkedIn, in your visit cards via Moo or whatever, or Vistaprint, a physical London phone, Madrid phone, Barcelona phone, whatever. You buy that phone, somebody will call it, and it will ring in your computer or your phone, and the person doesn't need to go through your mobile number or local thing.
That's a very useful tool, Circle Loop, especially if you're with your one man or a single enterprise. It's good to have a fixed number, and you can route it from any cloud bridge. I don't think there's much need to go into too much details on Zoom. We're using it here, so you're fully aware of what that is. And Microsoft Teams is, although many people get confused between Zoom and Teams, the common question is, which should I use, Teams or Zoom? Well, there's actually a fundamental difference. If you'd like more details in this from an enterprise level, I'll be happy to guide you through it. The general difference is that Zoom is a dedicated multi-person teleconference tool, and it has far more features dedicated to multi-party conferences than Teams does. Teams is part of the Microsoft suite that comes as part of the E3 or E5 license group that you may buy. If you wish to know about the different license groups of Office 365, just go to Microsoft.com and they can tell you. But Microsoft Teams is part teleconference, part chat, and part it connects with SharePoint. So it's like your Swiss Army knife tool for collaboration. It does a bit of everything, but it doesn't do everything perfectly. Whereas Zoom doesn't pretend to be something it's not. It really is a dedicated teleconference, and it was born and it came to life really much out of the pandemic, where their stocks soared tremendously. And but now many companies, because they're using the Office 365 suite, they may be dropping Zoom in favor of Teams, but there are sacrifices to be made. Last but not least, WhatsApp. Well, it's part of the Facebook or Meta group. I think we're quite familiar with that is. The one thing I will mention, the difference between WhatsApp and Telegram is encrypted data, more secure, more private, whereas WhatsApp, you're sharing information with Zuckerberg. You just need to accept that.
On the Zoom call, I most of you probably know this, but Elena, she looks as she's appearing right now, but Keith and myself are not as beautiful as we appear here, because Zoom has by default a filter that makes people prettier.
Exactly. I'm actually 80. I'm 80 years old, believe it or not.
Ignacio, I wanted to ask you regarding Calendly. So does it aggregate from other calendars like Gmail, Outlook?
So it connects to your calendar, and especially in my case, and most of us who have different personalities, depending on the brand that you want to push through. I have my personal calendar, which I might have doctor appointment or going to the gym appointment, my professional accounts, and sometimes the client account. So when I'm doing a project, I typically get given a client account. So all of them get connected to Calendly, and they block all the slots that are booked by other calendars. So the slots appearing there are the only ones that are truly available in my life.
Okay.
Zoom, by the way, also has Zoom Phone, which is the same thing as Circoloop, which is a physical phone number, which you pay by the month. Keith, if you want to jump on this one, or?
Yes, sure, happy to. So the first half more than likely looks quite familiar than what we've discussed before. Office 365 suite is all-encompassing enterprise tool. Whether you're a one-person freelance, such as myself, I find it quite useful to pay the low monthly fee. You get all the tools, and it works famously whether you're using Mac or Windows device, and it's interchangeable and compatible. That's the beauty of it. The second row is the default tools from your Mac device. They're great. However, from certain editing functions, they lack a certain flair compared to the Windows features. I personally feel that if you want to do professional work, the Office suite offers more tools and features that's not so easy on the Mac suite. But that's a personal preference. I'll let anybody take their choice on that. And then the Google Workspace, I think it's a fantastic suite of documents, and you can actually download and convert them to Windows or PowerPoint. It's quite useful, and it's all web-based, and it's very similar to what's on offer from Microsoft. These, to me, are your general go-to baseline of tools that you're going to do your day-to-day work, whether it be email, presentations, or number crunching.
And these, please, whenever you get in a project, I mean, most of you are seasoned. Whoever is starting here, don't spare a few dollars and have a crappy relationship with your client. If your client is using Office and is not giving you a license, you get yourself a license. Otherwise, you will for sure have coordination issues or a document that goes corrupt. And it always is the presentation to the CEO. It's never the internal monthly, weekly memo. That's my recommendation after experiencing it in my own flesh.
Ignacio is correct. Don't underestimate your ability to be professional, because being professional is you're selling your brand, and what your brand creates reputation, and your reputation takes years to build up, and it can be ruined in 1 second. So to me, it's worth spending a bit on basic tool sets. If you were a carpenter, would you go buy the cheapest drill from Lidl, or would you go buy a decent drill from Black & Decker, for example? Well, that's the same type of approach here. And shifting over to actually presentation, which at the end of the day, we're all trying to present ourselves and market. I find that the Canva and Powtoon tools, which you see on the bottom left-hand side there, they are fantastic websites, which I recommend everybody trying out and registering for. Prezi is similar to Canva. They're both web-based versions of PowerPoint, but with more styles, more templates, and more features. And generally, I have found in my personal observations that many people much younger than myself, they adopt Canva and Prezi much more than, say, the old folk like me who are stuck in the office suite land. But nevertheless, they are good tools to try out, some resources for you to use. In fact, because we're freelancers, we probably are accustomed to creating a lot of CVs or resumes. And guess which CVs always look the best? The ones done in Canva, Prezi. And admittedly, if you use the Mac tool for presentations, it's very good as well. The templates are fantastic for creating CVs and profiles for your freelance profiles. Last but not least, I'll mention Powtoon. You can go to powtoon.com and have a look at it. It's an excellent storytelling tool. If you wish to convey a complex situation into a nice animated cartoon like Dilbert or a Dilbert style or Calvin and Hobbes, I know I'm dating myself here, but telling a story via cartoons is easy. It's fun. It's easy to digest. It gets your emotions running. Powtoon is a fantastic way of doing that in a few simple steps, and it's fun doing it as well. And if you enjoy what you're doing, then you will have much more success in life, in my opinion. So give it a try. You have nothing to lose.
Yeah, I can imagine conveying some IT security policy changes. Either you make it a bit fun or nobody's going to read it.
Correct. Coming from the IT world, some of it can be considered dry. I won't lie to you. So finding unique and creative ways of messaging your story is important. So hence why I have nominated these tools, because in my roles, I'm usually the people who summarize what the engineers are doing and presenting it to the execs for decision making. And they need a less technical way of understanding what are we doing and why we're doing it. And these tools, which I have put in this presentation, help in that regard.
This probably doesn't apply to everyone. I mean, we all need to do some kind of presentation. I'm a strategy consultant, so I live on slides. Not because slides are important, but because all the work done needs to be conveyed, presented, and convince everyone in the company, not only the top management. Therefore, presentations are key. Now, I've worked with Bose & Company and BCG. All these top tier companies, they have a department who actually does the slides, which half of you would be clapping to have. The moment I left, is one of the first thing you miss. That's why we have these two logos, which, disclaimer, I do have benefit on this because these are my company. One of my companies, Kansen Design. It's basically a PowerPoint design agency that just, you send the slides and you get them done for you. Yeah, go check it out if you're a heavy user of slides and your time is costly. The Canson toolbar, we will be giving it away to anyone that is interested. So on the ribbon of the PowerPoint, you have not so well optimized utilities or icons placed. What we've created is a toolbar with a lot of advanced functionalities that you can access on one single click to make basically the presentation editing in PowerPoint much faster. Another option that I highly recommend to everyone that is using a lot of presentations and a lot of graphs within the presentation. Managing graphs within PowerPoint is pain in somewhere place. Zingcell is something that is being used in all the top consulting firms I've worked for. Bose & Company, BCG, McKinsey, they all work with this. Why? Because it saves you tons of time on creating a graph, right? Editing it, changing it, making advanced graphs that are not available in PowerPoint. So if you are using PowerPoint to deliver a lot of graphs, a lot of slides with graphs, do think of buying this license. It's an expensive one, but it's totally worth it. Go for it. On the Canson toolbar, whoever needs it, just ping me afterwards and we will be sending you a copy of this. And a note on Canva. So Canva is a unicorn, by the way. The reason it's a unicorn, aside from that they've done it quite well, so it's stupidly simple to create first attractive versions of things, be it a presentation, a video, something like that, or even a flyer, brochure, is that PowerPoint is just a massive tool. There's hundreds of millions of users. So if Canva managed to get just a little tiny bit of PowerPoint, it automatically becomes a unicorn.
I also want to add regarding ThinkCell, because it's a little bit expensive, that's true, but I also understand that it makes sense to invest there because they add features all the time. Like recently, they added a feature when you basically, if you have a picture of a graph and you need to quickly transform it into specific numbers, and maybe then you want to play, you know, with bars and graphs, etc., you just scan it and ThinkCell convert it in real graph with real Excel behind. So it's extremely useful. Regarding the Grammarly, I'm a heavy user, I have to admit. And I discovered Grammarly maybe 4 years ago. It's add-in. You can edit in Windows, you can edit in Android, in Chrome, in Apple, obviously. And basically it checks your level of English language. For me, I see two ways how I use it. First, like if even in Gmail, wherever I'm typing email, Grammarly is checking not only like my spelling, but also my style. Do I want to be more business oriented, or do I want to use more convincing language, or is it like a funny email? So Grammarly can detect these things and advise you on a specific wording to use. And also, as a non-native speaker, I discovered some typical mistakes which Grammarly all the time were popping up for me. And you basically learn English from that as well, but when we are already in a quite solid level. Yeah, so maybe here I also will comment, because previously we saw a lot of tools relevant to project management and collaboration, but we all know, and we hear freelancers, we come to the company, and if we speak about projects like I do, which is transformations with a lot of uncertainty, complexity, basically it's this big change. It is not enough, not just do the pure project management. We all know about change management, everything relevant to the human side, like how to reduce resistance to the change, how to increase adoption, of new processes, new systems, or maybe new ideas or mindsets. And when we speak about mindset, there are also some tools which we can use basically to measure corporate culture. This thing was a little bit of a surprise for me some years ago, because how you measure corporate culture? Does it even possible? And what is corporate culture? So currently in the world, there may be around 7 or 8 frameworks or companies who provide this type of tools to measure our organizational culture. One of them I work with is Hofstede Insight. They started from IBM, like 50 years ago, so it's a very solid organization. And the tool they use is very simple. It's a survey. Like if you associate partner with them, or you may be any other organization, you send survey maybe from 70 to 120 questions. And for these sensitive topics, it's so important that we use an external provider because people just, if you do like survey internally, people will not share. For example, questions might be, what is about our leadership style? Are we happy how my boss is? Like, what is their behavior? Or how I relate to my colleagues, or how I relate to the organization and to the external world, right? And what are our values? Because values define how we behave. And so it's very easy, actually, if someone wants to do a cultural assessment, to understand like where our company is. To run this is like 1 week, and then you get a lot of insights, and based on that you can adjust your strategy, adjust your program of projects, etc. Yep.
If there's no other comments, I'm actively watching the questions come through, and I find there's some really good questions. So we're happy to speak about those when we get to the end if we have any more. So keep them coming. One of the last topics that we have here before actually touching on how do we get paid, which everyone wants to talk about, is actually in order to get paid, I find it important to keep yourself secure. Now, what do I mean by that from a freelancer perspective is that I'm not going to touch on the whole world of cybersecurity and information security, et cetera. Whereas I think I focus on what's important for you as an individual freelancer. And if you remember nothing else from anything to do with security from a freelancer, I think we should focus on these key areas. And that is, one of them is the device that you use. So whether it be issued from the company or you're using your personal device, it's important to keep that protected. Not only for people stealing it or robbing it, but also if you do lose it on the metro, which does happen on occasion, how about making sure you have a simple logon blockage device, whether that be your different logon or actually have a physical, you buy a laptop with what's called a TPM chip, which actually blocks it from people actually starting the device unless they enter the key. Most basic laptops that you pick up at MediaMarkt would offer that. It's just something that I recommend you pick up. The other one is actually your data, and that is very important, and we must separate it, what you're doing professionally and what you do personally. Separate it religiously is my recommendation, because not only from an insurance perspective, but also from an audit perspective. You don't want to mix your personal world and your professional world. And that goes with what's on your mobile phone or your tablet or your laptop as well. It's a broad topic. I'm only skimming the surface here, but here are a couple of tools which I think you should adopt or you could possibly use. And one of them is about your passwords once you're working for any client or even yourself for that matter. Keep a password database. I don't know about you, but I can't remember all the passwords I have for all the login accounts I have. But then again, you don't want to write your passwords on a sticky note either. So get yourself some type of KeyPass or use the default on the Mac device keychain that's password protected, and then store your passwords there. and try and make it as complicated and change them passwords as often as possible. Document management. What do I mean by that? Well, you're going to come across a swathes amount of documents that you're going to collect from either your clients or you personally as well. And you need to know where to store them, what to do with them, and how to keep them separated from your personal and your work life. One of them, you can store them physically on your device, which will then require a physical backup in case you lose it or lose your laptop, for example. Or you can store them in one of the numerous document repositories that are available, either from the Amazon cloud, you can use Google, you can use Microsoft, and there's also Apple Cloud as well. But my recommendation is have one for your work-related material and another one for your personal. Don't mix your family photos with your photos of your professional environment. The last but not least is all of the accounts that you must log in, or your websites or your tools, your applications. Whether you're logging on to Office 365 or your bank, I recommend adopting and setting up what they call multi-factor authentication. Means you have a password from the Office 365, but in order to access the account, they must send you a message or an SMS to your mobile phone before you can log on. Set that up, please, because the amount of hackers out there trying to access everybody, they're not just attacking big companies, they're attacking the little fish like us. Because we're easy targets and we don't have the resources to buy big fancy firewalls and etc. So do the minimum and apply these simple methods, and it will help you go a long way to protecting yourself. There's one other point which you may not think about, and I know Ignacio has his heart and passion into it, so I will allow him to delve into it.
Before jumping into insurance, I want to ask the audience to just ping if any one of you who has lost within the audience wants a device containing key information. And I'm starting myself. Peter, never. Okay, how many years does Peter have been working? It's probably more.
I left mine on a train leaving Gatwick Airport. Guilty.
Never. Great. So
I'm guilty too.
I fortunately haven't lost anyone, but I've been stolen in Paris. Of course, you never get stolen in the middle of a valley, meaning between projects. You always get the computer stolen or crashed. By the way, my computer has like a MacBook, nearly brand new, completely destroyed out of a machine default, nothing exterior. Personal data, professional data disappeared because, of course, Mac doesn't allow you to access the hard drive because of security questions. Hadn't I had my Google Drive sync, I would have lost everything. And for me, the Paris experience where I got stolen. The next day, I went to buy a new computer, and in the Monday, I was able to be working at my client at 99%. And that was kind of a very reassuring experience, thanks to having a real backup. However, Google Drive did ask me, do you also want to back up a mini drive that I had inserted in my computer? Several times. I never tell him to do so. So I lost all the photos I had, personal photos that I had stored there. So definitely, guys, do follow Keith's advices. It's real stuff. On the insurance part, not all of you might need it, right? But at least on my field, I'm not going into a project without having an insurance for professional services. I've always tried to find for one of these, which I thought it might exist or not, but I never was able to find it until I stumbled onto this one with a good deal that they offered us, and ever since I have this insurance. Never know if we're gonna use it. but at least I'm covered. And typically the projects I work on are, high flyers. Let's move into the next one.
Oh, wait a second, Kate, I have a question. What is the difference between this password management applications which you suggested and what all users, do as basically Chrome, remember my passwords?
One of them is, it's a very good question, Elena. Let me try and explain it in the easiest way I possibly can. If you are a Safari user in your web browser or a Google Chrome, they give you the option for you to save your passwords, and they do that out of convenience. However, you're putting your trust in Google Chrome and for them to manage and save your passwords. It's convenient, but it's not actually saving your password for every time you want to change it, because then you need to re-enter it anyway. So whereas a password tool like LastPass, which one of the guests has mentioned, or KeyPass, which is another application, or the keychain that comes default with the Mac devices, there's actually like a personal database that you can add any password in there. And because it's password protected, only you can see it. And also you can actually access it from another device. You don't, whereas if you're relying on Google Chrome saving your password, what happens if you go to another person's laptop or internet cafe? I know that doesn't exist anymore, but you go to some other location and use a different browser. How will you remember your password? You won't be able to. Whereas, for example, what I use personally, you can use Keychain on your Mac devices. Well, whatever browser you use, you have access to the passwords of the websites that or tools you're trying to access.
And does it automatically put the password in the right field, or you need to open it every time?
It depends how you use it, but the safest way is for you to open it and then use it. You can use both at the same time. I mean, I use Keychain and Safari saving my passwords at the same time, but I also can access my passwords if I jump onto a corporate laptop and I want to log on to a website. I need to remember the password. I can go back to the database password protector.
Thank you.
Good question, though. These are good topics here. These are the fun ones, ladies and gentlemen. And you're probably wondering, why is it that we have put Spotify on freelance tools? You're probably thinking, Keith, this is enjoyment. We're talking about work and professional life. Well, as much as I mentioned separating your professional and personal life data, sometimes you need some pleasure in your life to create that genius zone in you to get creative. And that's why I put Spotify as a key tool for you to do your focus work. I personally need to listen to Hans Zimmer in order for me to get creative, or whatever type of music you prefer. That's why I find Spotify a key tool in my arsenal and to help get those creative juices flowing. Some people need coffee, others need music. Choose your voice. The other tools on there, Audible. I don't know if anyone's actually ever used that or heard of it. But I don't know about you. When was the last time you had time to pick up a physical book and read it?
Keith, sorry, very quick one. We've got 6 minutes left, so
Yep. Yeah, I'll quickly go through these. So Audible allows you to listen to a story being told to you as opposed to reading it. So when you're going for a walk along the beach, you can buy the book and have someone narrate it for you. Shifting on to Greenshot. This is a pragmatic tool where you do screenshots. It's very easy. It's a screen grab. Try it. It's very helpful. The last two on here, Fully is for your home office and desks. Look it up on the website. It's a French company. It allows you to buy fantastic desks for you that are comfortable and ergonomic. Again, no endorsements at all from me. Last but not least is the Hemingway editor. Elena, you may like this. If you like Grammarly, go to Hemingway editor. It will help your professional writing, and it helps you with all the grammar, tenses, and it's free. It does it on the fly.
Good. On the getting paid part, a quick one. Here we have time tracking things, receipts and invoicing accounts, and then tools that make easier payments with less commissions right here. Avasa, quick one, is an ERP. It allows you to track if you're with several team members or you're in several projects. It can allow you to track time, and therefore you get an invoice at the end of the month that you can send to your client with the total number of hours. So it simplifies a lot that part. Keith, if you want to jump on the other ones.
Yeah, two quick ones. So being a freelance or autonomo, or even if you're an SL, you need to be able to track and manage the receipts, and you also need to be able to send invoices. You can use Excel, which is down there in the bottom left-hand side. It works. It's not pretty though. So I use Smart Receipts on my mobile phone. It works on Android equally as iOS. You take a photo, you set the category, it stores it, you export it once a month, send it to your accountant. Works fabulously, dead easy. Even I can use it. Wave, the one in the middle there, Wave is one of the many online tools you can do for automated invoicing. That's the one that I've used in the past. It creates pretty invoices and automates it if you have reoccurring clients. It's very easy to use. You don't need to sit there manually updating things every month. All you do is change the amount of hours that you work for someone, and the templates, the headers, and all there. Sends it pretty like, looks professional. You can put your logo, everything on there. Done, dusted, very easy. And at the end of the year, you can actually track your expenses and revenue, etc.
Good. Well, Stripe disappears, and we'll go into learning and new skills. So no, next one.
This one is dead easy. Sorry there, Ignacio. Continuous learning is important for everybody, whether you're like us or you're just a general person. Knowing how to do things and learning tactical, pragmatic, vocational skills are important, I find. I have found that LinkedIn Learning, if you have a premium membership, is a fantastic source. There's all kinds of courses on there on how to do things. Whether you want to learn to become a financial accountant, a project manager, or you just simply want to use Excel better, LinkedIn Learning has it. Equally, if you go to udemy.com, it's one of the largest online colleges, and the courses cost as little as, say, $10, and they go up to hundreds based upon the course and content. And you select your professor based upon the amount of TripAdvisor stars they've been given. It's that simple, and it's fantastic. I
can maybe briefly add, I did my MBA in IE, Instituto de Empresa, and I'm so surprised like how they changed in recent years, and they started providing a lot master classes for free or conferences for free, and it's not only for students and alumni, but anyone can come, and there are a lot of online and offline in Madrid. So, for example, this Friday and Saturday, they are organizing a tech conference where they will tell about all last trends in technical world. Especially now, it's important, right? With all ChatGPT, etc. And it's all for free. So you just go to the website in the events and choose what is relevant to you. And it's really like high quality and gratis for free. I use it a lot.
Very good, Elena.
Okay, so that was the end of the presentation, and it was absolutely amazing. Now we open the floor to Q&A, and from what I've seen in the chat, I think the questions have sort of already been answered. Ignacio, Keith, Elena, do you see any questions that haven't been?
I see there's one that we are not going to answer today. There's quite a bunch of questions around LinkedIn. Not being a super expert, but I've been using it quite a bit, and it's 80% of the revenues of one of my companies comes through LinkedIn. I think we could have another session specifically talking about LinkedIn. There's no time today to discuss.
No, we really have to rush this at the end.
There's one specific question that several people have asked about what rates to charge. That's the eternal question for a freelancer. I'll give one single tip. The main tip is you go and research benchmarks that are out there. That will help you a lot to gauge a bit. Slowly you will learn and you can raise it or decrease it. The rule of thumb is you take your salary, if you were to be employed with your level of experience, you add social security cost, you add your vacations because you're not getting paid for that. You add the extra bonus that you would be entitled to. You divide that by the number of working days in the year, and that with a plus, because you're a freelancer, you're not fully employed on that company, can be a first shot to a daily rate for yourself.
I would say it's a bottom line, the lowest.
The lowest.
It's not your target.
The lowest part, yes. So accepting something lower than that would be, unless it's a 12-month project, wouldn't be advisable. But there you have at least, thanks, Elena, a point.
Quickly, how to calculate your contractor rate, which is the key term, which I recommend you going to Google and going, how to calculate your contract rate, and then you can just slice and dice it if you're working per hour or not. Many different agencies and tools offer different calculation methods. I know one off the top of my head. If you go to indeed.com, type in something to do with contractor rates, there's some type of a module that you can follow with tips on how to calculate it. Other ones I use is go to contract rates and for the day, and then just divide it by your hourly rate. But at the end of the day, what Ignacio mentioned is that you need to get some benchmark for what your role will be as a full-time employee. Or if you're a company, what product you wish to sell it at to cover your costs plus your margin.
Okay, excellent. Well, I think that closes the Q&A. So I just want to say thank you, Ignacio, thank you, Keith, thank you, Elena, for all this information. Super interesting. And thank you for the attendees. You will all receive the recording and the presentation. And just very quick, once we finish, you will receive a survey on your screen. We would appreciate if you would fill that out. Thanks for joining us, and see you at the next webinar. Yes,
I think it's an important question here. People are asking if they will receive the presentation.
Yes, you all will receive the presentation and the recording of this entire webinar in your email that you signed up, that you registered with. Everyone will receive this.
Mm-hmm. Do jump into the Outvise platform and join the thread that I'll be creating, where we can share all those tips that people are chipping into.
Yes, absolutely.
Discuss further.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time. If there's anything else you'd like to know about any of the topics that we discovered, you can either find us through Outvise or directly through LinkedIn, and you can send us personal messages, and I'd be happy to be of service.
Amazing. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.